Did you guys hear comments on race?
Common.
What he said on the Daily Show.
What did he say?
So he said that in order to end racism, black people need to extend a hand in love.
That's never gonna happen.
It's the stupidest shit I ever heard.
Next he'll be saying let's march. I'm not with the marching shit either. It's over. That's over for us.
So, all right. Well, since you take it there, I mean, I still want to talk about the comment.
Before you say that, he said that we black people should extend the hand to white people or just
to white people in love.
But so you gotta look at he has to say that now.
Okay, so now Dr. Don,
why?
Because he's not willing to go back. If he's getting these $1 million checks, somebody prepped him to say that, and he feels those $1 million checks are more important than going back to, say this, make it nice, make it friendly, or back to the projects.
Nah, but he never lived in the projects. To be honest, common to tell you from the jump. He's
living better than when he
But his comments though were like, I mean, other than the fact that they're nonsense. Him, Raven Simone, all of these cats drinking this funny Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
we gotta talk about that Kool-Aid though, and we gotta talk about
remember that song he made 1999. That shit was some like revolutionary hip hop.
Oh, there was a whole bunch of them.
Tons.
He got tons of it, but now it changes.
But Dr. Don, I want you to continue what you were saying though about that.
I mean, I think like part of it, like when people talk about racism, like people think that racism is just on the individual level, and so me extending my hand to a white person, that's nice. That looks nice for like cards and Hallmark and magazines and stuff, but it does nothing to deal with the institutional racism, the systemic racism, and the structural racism, right? Everybody thinks that if we all just hug and get along, that's fine.
And have a march.
Yeah, or have a march. They think that's going to be the thing.
I hate those marches.
I despise the marches. I despise them.
As soon as somebody says, "Listen, we should plan a protest," hell no.
I despise them.
Affirmative
You
action.
think they're effective?
Well, marches? I'm torn with the march thing. I mean, I think back in the day that's what people did, and I think with younger generations with technology, that's not necessarily like the best practice for everyone. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so they can be effective in some instances, like the marches that were happening in Ferguson and the protests that were happening with Ferguson. That's good, but it wasn't just the march. It was also tied with people using Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a social activism that is definitely needed.
This thing right here is the new marching.
Well, the only thing I don't like about that
The laptop.
is that it's really easy to sit at your computer and do that. And you're doing it with no strategy.
There are people that are doing it with strategy.
I know. Mm-hmm. But we're not talking about, we're talking about the masses of people. Out of masses of the people that we have in this country, majority of them are doing it with no strategy, just doing it from emotion. And that's the issue. Now, we could talk about specific people, but we need collective. You know what I'm saying? We need larger than just a few specific groups. You know what I'm saying? We need that to be the way people do it, where there's a strategy. And though I still want to stay on comments, but I think we're still really talking about those in the conversation. I want to also bring in what Dame Dash said in his interview.
That was an awesome interview.
That was one of the best. What's that?
Foolishness.
Which one?
He said
About the
The
something-
whole interview was straight foolishness. And I'll tell you why whenever you want to know.
He said a lot about
I knew my man was going
owning your own and
like
being
it,
your
man.
own boss. And
It's straight
it went
foolishness.
straight to a conversation I had with Chujay, where you were talking about, kind of your past at Yale and the 9-to-5 thing, and how if you really wanted to get into, following your dreams, that had to not be
It can't.
where you were. It can't be where you're at.
And either well, see, here's the thing: it can't be where you're at, meaning your mind is at.
Exactly.
Because I was always at Yale, but you best believe I was the least doing any work. Why? Because I was in the back, either writing, creating some shit. Most of my time, and you could ask anybody, well, I was not busting my ass there.
You messing
and I
it up
know,
for everybody.
I know. Yes, I was.
You worked
And
there as like what, facilities or something like that?
I worked in the OR, mopping floors and shit.
That's because that's what we
And-
do at Yale.
And here, exactly,
Come on,
it's a
son.
plantation. So, but my whole thing was that I was there, but I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And you can, but see, there's some people that are there that are there.
There.
They're like, yo, I'm gonna stay here for another 8 hours and then go home, sleep for an
That's
hour.
the only-
Then I'm gonna come back for
that's the
another
only
double,
option they
get that
have.
money so I can get like, have this nice truck and shit. You cap, like that's what they do.
That's the only option.
And
they
I was
have.
like, hell no, man. No, that's not true. That's not true. See, you a nigga.
But
Listen,
I
go
agree.
Go ahead.
As a nigga,
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
agree with his comments
Yeah.
because people get confused with this boss lifestyle. Because you're looking fly and you got a nice car and you might have a straight crib, you're not a boss.
You still answer
However,
to somebody.
you're still answering to somebody. However, the mentality, and I'm just speaking for myself, when I go to my job, I put on an act. It's an act for 8 hours. Hi, how are you? Oh, that's really not me. But I consider myself a boss because I act like a boss. My mindset is
That's
boss.
where you're at.
That's where I'm going to get. But for now, I have to how you doing to get where I need to go. The reason why his comments offended me is because the way he was saying boss is like we're all confused. We're not all confused. It's different levels of
his comments was
bossivity.
ridiculous.
It's different
And I'll
levels
tell
of,
you why.
but I do agree with what he was saying.
Yeah.
But in order to be a boss, you gotta dig in the trenches.
Well,
At some
yeah.
point, you not
He had
gonna
a
just
bit of
come
a
out being
condescending
boss.
tone.
He
Exactly.
was an
exactly.
asshole about it, and he's always been an asshole.
Well, he had
But I
Ain't
will-
definitely
he
with
broken
deep.
out?
Huh?
Ain't he broke now?
See,
He's
but I'm
broke.
not falling
His
into
broke
that.
is
That-
he had you could tell he had a personal issue with envy, for whatever reason,
Who don't?
because he kept targeting him.
Remember
Like,
what
yo,
Paul said it,
Oh,
do you
eat
own?
butter out
He
of the
targeted
butter.
him the most, and he wouldn't let nobody else talk. First of all, if you're a boss,
But it
when you
seemed like-
started out with
That's always been Dane.
when Rockaware, you were under Def Jam and Universal Music and Virgin EMI.
Not true.
No,
Did you
That's
hear him
true.
break
it was a
They-
50-50.
It was a
No,
50-50.
they distributed.
No,
they,
it was a distribution
Look it
deal,
up.
50-50.
Look it up.
No, it was a 50-50 deal.
No,
No,
all this stuff was
it
distributed.
was.
I'm
When he got the
telling you,
$1
he
million.
knows.
Yo, this
If
video
you listen to Jay's,
is documented. He used to run up in Def Jam offices talking about why are you starting meetings about my client
and he was on his way
without
out
me.
then.
Without me.
Doesn't matter, but
Because
he
it's-
was still 50-50. So it wasn't that he was
It's
under.
just like
but
it
here's
was
my,
A
but
good
here's my-
interview you should listen to is Flex talking about Dame Dash. He said because he's calling Leo Cohen culture vultures. He's like
That
where-
lion
the
ass
actual
nigga?
the
Really?
actual
Flex?
interview the actual interview was
Flex
about
said he
5
was there.
minutes. The actual interview was about 5 minutes. The other 25
Was
minutes
bombs?
was
Yeah, he got the bomb thing. He got New York
Well, listen,
crazy about the bomb. You
listen.
from Harlem?
Yeah.
Nice.
But listen, here's my whole thing about with Dame Dash, and this is the reason why I feel like what he said, he was the key to what a revolution needs to be. You know what I'm saying? No, the protest is not going to work if there's no strategy. And his mindset, for me,
There's no strategy.
no, his mindset is the mindset we all need to have. Now, what I don't agree with is him saying that if you're currently under somebody that you're not a man
a
or you're
boss.
not this. That's not true. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always going to be beginnings. You know what I mean?
But is the one of the issues that like people have with Common, Pharrell, and all of these cats who talk all of this stuff now, talking about why these niggas broke. Like you can say that when you got money right now, right? It's easy to say stuff when you got money right now. But the other thing is that people are not talking about what's going on in the school systems, right? And so people are in the school systems not being taught to think, right? And so if you're not being taught to think, you're not a free thinker.
That's what I
You're
meant
taught to be a mindless
That's what I
consumer.
meant about the Yale person that says they think that's their only option, and it's a good option because you make $17 an hour, you might get overtime.
right,
you
so
got
they're not
benefit-
thinking more.
They don't
No.
want to.
But
because it's-
some people haven't been exposed to see anything else.
That's
like
all they know.
if you've been
Right.
indoctrinated for 12 years from K through 12th grade of you do this, you get a job, you get money. You get a job, you get money, but have never been given an opportunity to grow your entrepreneurial spirit. That's all you're gonna do. That's all you're gonna be stuck with is I got to go get a job and work that job until the day that I die.
But
Right?
what about the people like myself? I mean, I wasn't exposed to that.
But,
I was never exposed to that, but it was just something in me. I don't see that me
you-
being different from anyone.
I don't think everything is within us. Like I think it's a mixture of biology and environment. And so even if you say you weren't exposed to something, you were exposed to something. It may not have been in a structural way,
Right.
but you have to see something in order for that idea to manifest, right? And so you were exposed to it. These people are not necessarily formally exposed to it, right? But we all are exposed to the boss mentality. If you grew up in the hood, like where I grew up, when Rich Porter and all of these cats was big, I saw them like they had they had the city on lock. like I was exposed to the hustler spirit. My uncle was a big drug dealer. I was exposed to the hustler spirit, but I did it on the legal end. And so I cut hair. My uncle would take me downtown to Chinatown to buy porno videos and sweat socks, and we would sell those joints in the train station, right? He was like, you can do this stuff and work for yourself. You can buy it at $2, you sell it at $5 and make this profit. That's what he did when he was selling drugs, but I wasn't selling drugs. I was doing it legally. So we're exposed to it in different ways, but we just have to know how to channel that hustler spirit into other things.
Absolutely, I agree. And I just think that even though Dame Dash was an asshole in what he was saying, you know, he was saying it like a dick. But if you really look at what he was saying, and people can start using him as an example. And here's the thing that really pissed me off. He is an example of something people can be exposed to, especially our youth, of somebody that came from this and went to that. But here's the thing that most people wanted to do. Let's look at his current situation and let's put all that out there. So now the credibility of him and his story and his journey
he's a credible
just
dude in
came
music.
down because
Absolutely.
he's negative $2 million. That's nothing.
But
That's nothing to him. To anybody who is thinking in his mindset and all the CEOs, that's nothing to him.
But he's also a guy who, at any point of his career, always had his hand in more than one jar too.
Oh, sure.
So whatever profits he saw, he constantly was putting it back into his own projects.
Yeah.
So for him to go in the negative today doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be there next year.
That's
the year
what I'm
after.
saying. There's so many people that bounce back, but it's just that mindset, man, is what I feel like. I just feel like we need to adopt that mindset. And if we did, if that became the norm, that people thought like that and entrepreneurship just like was just the thing and everybody had their own shit going. If that became the norm, I really feel like a true strategy would be to have our own independent type of society.
But
You
it's,
know,
cut-
our
it's
own
too
cur-
cutthroat now, and everybody's comfortable being that cutthroat. Like for him, if I come home from jail, he graduates from college with a huge degree. Who's getting the cookout and the party?
It wasn't me.
You.
I am. That's the mindset. Him,
True
he
indeed.
now all of a sudden he's the sellout. He's the who
That's
the fuck
true.
do you think you are? You a puppy? Or you think you better than us? I'm just come home from prison, getting a cookout, go get an outfit.
And you knew shit, but sit on your ass.
I ain't do shit but sit on my ass and do
Make
time.
fungos
Yeah,
Make my fungos and beat off.
but the interesting
to Susie's.
the interesting thing is though, like I mean I didn't get cookouts, right? But one of the things I'm writing about is the fact that I was protected by people in my hood, right? And so there's one dude who's in jail right now. He's serving like 40 joints. I write with, like, we grew up together, and so he wrote me this letter. It was like, yo, I remember when your grandmother used to call you out the window and everybody used to tease you or whatever. He's like, but deep down inside, I wish my moms would have called me out the window to eat. And then he was like, we saw something in your eyes. Like it was a certain time when like cats would go out and try and do some stuff. I mean, I smoked my weed, I did all of that stuff, and like people would try and go out, but it came to a time when they were like, nah, you can't go with us. You can chill with us here around the block, but what we're about to go do, you can't do, because you're going to be that person who's going to see some stuff that we not, and right? And so I was actually protected like by people around my block, and that's what a lot of people don't talk about. They talk about, you know, I had all of these mentors and all of these people, all these teachers, but it was cats around my block who didn't feel they were going to make it out, who kind of put their shoulders together to protect me from stuff. And so
'Cause they
that's why,
respected you.
yeah,
You
and
had
so
that
that's
respect.
why we stay connected now. Like I'm writing letters all the time, you know, to these cats who's there in the foundational pieces.
You know that is an image, no, that you don't see. And I know that happens often though. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not just a rare occasion. That happens often.
Yeah, I mean, J. Cole wrote about it in what was it, 03 Adolescence or whatever he talked about. It was like, how you trying to be like me, dude? I'm trying to be like you.
Speaking of which, yeah, that's right. I remember that line. Speaking of which, since we're talking about images, you know, that's out there, who's an Empire fan?
Hello,
Okay.
right here.
I've watched
I
Empire.
never watched it before.
You watch Empire?
I
Yeah,
saw an
watch it.
episode.
I never
Okay.
watched it.
I saw 3 episodes,
I guess
and the
it's-
only ones that pulled me in, well, 2 reasons pulled me in. Taraji P. Henson, and the only second light-skinned actor that ever made it mainstream, Terrence Howard. Other than that, it was James Earl Jones.
What I want to
That's
know
it.
is how many.
So now let
Cuba
me
for a
finish.
second.
Yeah,
Nah, I
second.
couldn't say he's
Yeah,
light
He
skinned.
got the
though.
statue.
Kuba's like my complexion.
Yeah,
He's like
right.
brown skin.
Kuba's
but
his
he do be
complexion.
taking sellout roles though.
Oh yeah.
You know, I,
Well,
It's
now
not
you're
sellout
going into
radio.
character
Yeah,
integrity. So that's a different story. But my whole point is this, though. With Empire, I just know that one of the things that was entertaining to me about it was just a gumbo of stereotypes all in one
Bad
show.
stereotypes.
It was a soap opera.
Okay.
It's like Dynasty.
So here's my
Totally.
question
He's
then.
JR.
Yeah.
He's the new JR.
Yeah.
So here's
Yep.
my question. then.
Dallas.
Absolutely. I'll give you that. But here's my question, though. Do you think that the images... now, I'm not a fan of Lee Daniels, neither. He said some shit in other interviews that I don't like. However...
He was prepped.
And he's bitter.
He was prepped.
He's bitter towards black people. He is.
He was
And towards
prepped.
his situation... towards his situation that he's had... when he was talking in an interview, he was like... He went into when he was researching for Precious. And he walked into a gay men's clinic, and he's like, and there was nothing but black women there. I felt like I was at a welfare.
Yeah, that was
welfare.
crazy.
And I'm like, what? And then he went on to say, this is how black people treat you. This, when you're gay, they do this, and you heard bitterness in him. And it's like, what the hell does a welfare have to do with anything? That's a systematic problem. That's not a. That has
Like
nothing
he
to
mad
do
at
with
his mother.
mother.
He has-
and
It's
he
more or
has
less.
abandonment
so,
issues.
but my whole thing is, since I know that if that's where he's coming from, and he created a show that is full of a gumbo of stereotypes, that's what turns me off. One, and another thing that turns me off is, or not turns me off, it makes me question how important is it for us now. People would watch that and say, well, that's real, right? And I don't doubt that it's real. I don't doubt that it's something that actually happens in that industry. But how important is it to show positive images?
What's positive? Like, but we get caught
Positive.
up in
When
thinking.
I say positive, I mean images that actually show it in a different way. Not necessarily a gumbo of stereotypes like Empire that just has this juicy plot that's going to easily be put together. It's not a hard plot.
I feel that they show the grind because the music industry is grimy. It's dog eat dog. Like
And
I
I think that's created. It's like, listen, we're not gonna make no conscious music. We're gonna let you eat. We're gonna let you get these big contracts. Just don't get cute.
right.
Keep,
I'm not
doing the shit that you're doing.
Well, see, here's the
Don't
thing.
get
Sounding
cute.
dumb as fuck.
Sound
I'm not
dumb
gonna-
as fuck. Walk around with your pants.
And
hanging
now,
off
are
your
you
ass.
saying when you say that, are you talking about in the context of the show, or are you talking about just the show? Period.
The show and hip hop. Period.
So just the show. So
But see,
now,
not even in the show. Like the issue that I have is sometimes I just want to watch stuff for entertainment. Like I don't need everything to be positive because all of us ain't positive, right? I remember the times when we had some good TV, Cosby Show, Different World. I don't know if you saw that like unsung joint on the Different World. Like it makes me think back to like how
watched
good
that.
we had it.
That was good.
But like my issue is not necessarily with Empire. My issue is that there's not other shows to kind of counteract that image, right? Because it's not about the negative image.
I think that's what I'm trying to get to.
And another thing is what network is Empire being aired on?
Oh,
Fox.
see what I'm talking about? That was look at that.
But they have to look at too.
Oh.
The people don't want no positive
Wait.
shit.
What did they say on the cube? Here's what they think about you.
Yeah.
Here's what they think about you.
But nobody wants the positive shit.
But here, when I say positive, I think exactly like what you're talking
Counteractive.
about. Something, because we've seen these images before. This show isn't new.
We're seeing
You
it
know
on
what
our
I'm saying?
It's so-
in
We're
our
just
music.
seeing it all in one show now.
It's so hypocritical because you got chicks that were like, fuck that, I'll never be a side chick, but they like Scandal.
Right.
And she was the
Don't get-
biggest
I watch
side
I watch
chick
Scandal
going.
too,
Don't
dude.
even
Oh,
go
yeah.
to it.
With the
Right
wife.
now, it's
Hard
on.
body scandal.
I it's DVR right now.
Scandal is a big show for women,
But here's what I like
but they won't
about-
be a side chick.
But
It's a
here's-
side chick
no,
show.
See, here's what I like about Scandal. Though.
She's a
First of
side
all,
chick.
I got the.
Is she a side chick?
No, but listen.
She's a side chick.
But to the president.
See?
So it's
That's
levels.
what I'm talking about.
Go there.
So
That's what I'm
levels
talking
to
about.
this shit.
You have
Levels.
to. Everybody has a
It's
number.
levels to this
Now
shit.
you don't want to be a side chick to a
She
nigga
said,
that work at
wait.
Safeway.
Right, no.
But I'll be a side chick to the president. Hell yeah.
Look at all the benefits she's getting.
That's the money
She's
dick.
more powerful than his wife.
Motherfucker, you
Oh,
got
Somewhere right now, Monica Lewinsky's sitting in her living room by herself.
Mad.
Yeah.
tight.
With the
She
dress.
probably got paper
With the
though.
dress
Tight.
on.
She probably got her
She's like,
book deal and all
I
that.
live this life.
I mean, I'm not for the side chick thing either, but it's levels to this shit. If Obama was like, yo, I really want to be with you, we don't be like, oh no, but you're with Michelle.
Would you be
Who
with him?
was, hell yeah.
Because you can look at the bigger
And I
picture.
don't even do side stuff.
That's the bigger
but
picture.
for him,
So a motherfucker that work at Popeyes
No, what you giving me,
Absolutely.
chicken and
I
biscuits?
agree with you.
It's gotta be
I
some
agree
biscuits.
with you.
That's a lot. Come on, that's
I'm just
free
keeping it
chicken.
up.
No, that's
Popeyes
her.
is good.
That's her looking out for herself.
That's what I'm doing.
Was the house?
We got
Listen,
that waffle battered chicken coming on.
like I want this shit every
And the
night.
Cajun.
Yeah, you want Cajun calling you? Yo,
I'm just
boo.
saying, it's
You want
levels
Cajun
to it.
tonight?
It's levels to it.
It's levels.
It's levels.
It's levels to everything.
So here's what I'm saying though is that's what I wish there was, man. I wish there was a more like, okay, you're gonna put a show out, Fox, on this level. You're gonna have Terrence Howard, Taraji P. Henson, Lee Daniels. Is there anything that you could put out? See, Shonda Rhimes, I love what she's doing, and she casts like even in How to Get Away with Murder. The people she casts,
Dope.
she chooses that. And I love seeing those roles. I don't give a fuck if whatchamacallit was a side piece as the character. That's the storyline. But what she represents, how she is, it's a totally different. You don't see that often, and that counteracts
No,
something like an
off
Empire.
screen, she's
all those stereotypes.
But
that are
even
Empire.
there though, like it's a lot of racial politics going on, like with troubled black men who are seeking their salvation and their medicine from white male. Like it's a lot of stuff that's complicated
It's
in
just
both
how
of those
many-
shows.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't watch Scandal fully anyway. I don't watch any
You
of
should.
them.
You need
Me
to.
too.
Yeah, I know.
Scandal.
And we must love
John
you
is
because
a-
we down here and Scandal is on.
I'm taping
Oh
it.
my
I'm
goodness!
DVRing it.
Yeah, it's on
see,
DVR.
That's what y'all do. Dang, I do feel
You
special.
should.
Because
Because
man,
I take
I've been
Scandal
told.
serious. What? Don't even talk
Plenty
to me.
of
Last
times.
night from 8 to 10, I wish a motherfucker would call my phone. That's where I was at. I don't care
We
what you
gonna,
do.
all right, we gonna go to a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk with Saigon, Bob Tree Studios.
Yeah. I got a paintbrush that you can't touch. Went on a date with the devil, but I paid Dutch. And shot it wore a Prada dress. With a K-Space clutch. Mona Lisa, Melanie V on the features. Got it in the loft. Heavily on the reefer, ran in the like a sneaker. Got a drink in margarita.